So you've seen quite a big change in the industry since
Oh,
you
yeah.
first started from, I guess, a lot of more, when you say offline, I assume a lot of that's kind of like paper-based, newspaper-based stuff, outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
a lot more digital stuff, right?
Absolutely. So when I first started, leaflets, door drops, as we call them, DMs, were a big thing. But now, as you know, you get so many of them through your door, the rate of take up is quite poor, but the cost of them is so cheap, some companies still find them delivering a return on investment. And just in terms of that cycle of where I've come from, I was there at the inception of marketing on mobile phones. So those first chunky WAP phones back in the pre-GPRS days, I was actually doing some marketing for Vodafone on those devices. So yeah, it has really come full circle, and it's been a really interesting journey, to be quite honest.
And how long were you at Voda for?
I was at Vodafone for 4.5 years. Interestingly, working across B2B, B2C, and doing some account management stuff, but mainly working on handset marketing. So at my age at the time, it was really a really exciting and pivotal time for me to be involved. So we were working on not just consumer, so cutting edge retail store, what do these phones actually do, but also how do we market to consumers who've just bought these phones so that we can push our services to them. So it was really cutting edge stuff, very interesting.
And then where did you go from Voda, and what was the motivation for the change?
Yeah, so there were a couple of motivations. So I've always said I want to keep things fresh. So I left Voda and went to do some contracting work first to expand my knowledge base. And then I wound up working in financial services marketing, which again, in terms of where I've got to today and owning my own business, has been absolutely invaluable, because financial services marketing is a completely different set of parameters in terms of the target audiences and what emotional triggers you're trying to obviously attach yourself to in terms of the marketing. So it was all quite different in the approach. So yeah.
What would you say the biggest things you learnt from that change in industry were, and how did that add to the skills that you now have, getting like you just said, a range of experience from different categories, kind of building in towards how that's become valuable now? What do you think those key things were?
So one of them is 100% a longer sales cycle. So you're not very impulsively buying financial services and identity theft protection, which is one of the marketing services that we were selling. It's not an impulsive decision, whereas mobile phones and some of these fast-moving consumer goods that I've marketed since such time are impulse-based. So it's looking at different triggers in consumer behavior. It's also made me a lot more process-driven as well, because anyone who works in banking and finance understands that there are quite a lot of milestones and processes and legal departments and risk teams to work with before you can put things to market, and also working with regulatory bodies to understand what you can and cannot say in your claims. So it matured me a lot in terms of my approach to marketing. I can't say it was as fun because it wasn't.